Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge there will be heavy Dragon Ball spoilers across practically the entire franchise, so if you want to avoid Dragon Ball spoilers, I'd advise against watching the full video. Anyways, with that being said, on to the video.
This has to do with the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, actually. Similar to how the Velvet Room is a manifestation of your inner thoughts, the TV world is what I'd call a reflection of the collective thoughts of the slideshow commentary community as a whole. Member or former member, as long as you maintain a strong connection to the people inside, positive or negative, you're reflected in here. That we both saw of the TV world is nowhere near the true extent of what there actually is inside there. But it's covered by an endless fog, and so at this very moment, we're only able to explore the room with TVs. Though in actuality, I think I found a few more spots that we can actually explore without the fog getting in the way.
And plus, I have a feeling this might help me find what I'm looking after.
I know how I can help you, but first, get in that TV.
What?
Oh no!
Okay, it looks like I'm safe in here for now. That's good. But still, Teach is fucking crazy for launching me in here knowing full well all the shadows lurking around. I'm definitely gonna be saying some colorfully worded things to her if I get out here alive. But, since I'm safe for now, I should at least focus on what she said to me last. Something about finding the answer to my unending question. She probably meant about my whole, I don't know if I can do commentaries anymore attitude. But if that's the case, then what is she planning? Hello, theater patrons. Please enter the main theater room. Our presentation will be beginning soon. Please enter and take your seats before we close the doors. Wait, this is a theater? I didn't even notice. But then again, nobody's here. But to be fair, going off of what Miss Clairval said, this is just a reflection of the real world, so I guess it makes sense for me to be the only person here. Now that I think about it, she did say something about the reflection world being the collective unconscious of people who are involved with the slideshow commentary community, but even with that knowledge, I'm still lost on figuring out what the hell's happening here. TV studio? Empty street? Now a theater? Where am I? You know what? Forget it. Maybe I should just watch the movie or something. Maybe it'll calm down my nerves, and then I can come up with a way to get out of here or something. Huh, there really isn't anyone here aside from me. Hello everybody and welcome to our Reflection World Theater presentation. Today we have a special guest, one LunaticTheGame of the slideshow commentary community. As many of you would know, LunaticTheGame is in a bad spot right now. Today they'll be facing themselves and their inner insecurities in this amazing presentation I, name redacted, made myself. Oh, so this must be what Miss Clairval meant. I guess she meant for me to wander in here. But if that's the case, what's this presentation going to be? For LunaticTheGame to face themselves, they will need to cover a number of their commentaries until they reach a point where they can't any longer. Sounds fun, right? Somebody get me out of here! Too bad for you, because the doors in this theater are locked, so you kind of have no choice. You may quickly skim through problems with some of your commentaries, however, if you want to watch a video you cannot find problems with. Are you okay with this, Lunatic? Fine. Yay! Mama Doodles, I don't want to be a commentator anymore.
What you gon' do? What you gon' do? Your life block written by someone but you. What you gon' do? What you gon' do? Just hands up and fight.
Now you're looking and you're seeing your every choice is fine. Not falling into freedom. And the storyline is yours for the making. The road we're taking could be where we're meant to be.
So for context, a long time ago, Watchmojo made a top 10 Dragon Ball Z moments. In November of 2016, a 13-year-old me made a video on that. That's all you need to know, so without further ado, let's get started.
Well, this is random. Why am I talking about Watchmojo? Why is it a commentary? Well, I'm still pretty new to this, so I wanted to rip on Watchmojo for their top 10s. But to keep it in a brief, Watchmojo are known for their top 10s. However, they put as little research into their videos, so I decided to make a commentary on one of their worst. Without further ado, let's get in.
So this introduction overall isn't all that bad, but there is one area I do take issue with because it makes it hard to follow for our audience members. That being the lack of genuine context to what you're covering. All I get from this introduction is that you're covering Watchmojo because they suck at research or something. But what are you covering? Like, the video is all I need to know past me. Look, context is important because that way it'll be much easier to follow the points in the videos. Since then, I'll get a better understanding of the perspective you're coming from. We good? Good.
Number 10. Goku and Piccolo go to driving school.
Do you people know how to make a list? Now for starters, on the list that people gave you for suggestions, this wasn't on any of them. It may be different, but out of 291 Dragon Ball Z episodes, and 508 in the entire franchise, not counting Super because that's new, this shouldn't be on anybody's list.
Okay, can I ask why this is such a bad thing? I mean, aside from the fact that this seemed to not be on the suggestions list, your reason seems to boil down to the fact that it's different than what we usually see from Dragon Ball. I guess you mean it's different because it's a more comedic, non-action-y moment from the show? I'll be honest with you, past me, that's a bit dumb. I get what you're probably trying to say is that there are far more and far better moments in the show, but ultimately, that's a thing I'd like to call subjectivity. This is Watchmojo's opinion list. They're allowed to put what they want on it. I think the ironic part looking back is that I didn't actually feel that way. I simply thought this scene in particular wasn't good enough to be on the list. But I lacked foresight to understand how to communicate this, so this is quite frankly such a poor choice of words that it forms a completely different argument. I think that's a bit funny, but also a little unfortunate. Post point here. I also think it's worth clarifying that the list of suggestions are just that. Suggestions. They weren't a blueprint for what needed to be on the list and how they should be ordered. At the same time though, my past self stupidly enough didn't even bother linking the suggestions page to even prove that fact. Oof. Also, this doesn't really matter in the long run, but why are you not counting Super specifically because it's new? That sounds like a really arbitrary reason not to count it, IMO.
Up until this point, all of the DBZ fights had been kind of lackluster.
Before I continue, let me put all of this out for you. Technically, it is just a list on Dragon Ball Z, but it's still the second half of a franchise that had already been established to have really good fights. Then again, it could be your opinion, but then again, you take suggestions from your fans, and none of them said it was the first good Dragon Ball fight.
But Watchmojo wasn't trying to say that this was the first good Dragon Ball fight, just the ones that came before it were lackluster. Yeah, lackluster is a word that usually means that something isn't really up to par, but it doesn't really mean bad. It came to mean things like lacking in force or punch. Given the stakes and hype for Goku's fight with Vegeta in the series, that fight will be seen as the first to really have a major punch behind it in DBZ. And while I disagree with Watchmojo to this day, I do understand where they're coming from. On the other hand, I don't really see what shoehorning in Dragon Ball into this discussion is supposed to help, because Watchmojo themselves stated that up to this point, Dragon Ball Z fights were a bit lackluster, more or less spelling out the fact that this meant Dragon Ball Z fights in particular up to the fight with Vegeta seemed to be a bit lackluster. I get that you want to spread the Dragon Ball is better than Z propaganda, but it ain't working here because it's a bit obvious and a bit transparent too.
Then again, it could be your opinion, but then again, you take suggestions from your fans, and none of them said it was the first good Dragon Ball fight. And yes, there are some people who do say Dragon Ball had a lot of lackluster fights in early Dragon Ball Z as well. However, I have to remind you, those people probably have not watched Dragon Ball. In my opinion, I think Goku vs. Vegeta was actually very slow-paced and boring at points.
You know, in commentaries like the ones you're trying to do past me, you aren't really meant to throw down your opinion if it doesn't add anything to your argument, and honestly, I have no clue what you not liking Goku versus Vegeta is adding to your argument other than a perspective that ultimately does not matter in the long run. Also, why do you write everyone who doesn't like the fights of early Dragon Ball and DBZ off and claim they probably haven't watched the show? That's such a bold freaking claim, and this idea that people can only find Dragon Ball fights bad if they simply didn't actually watch it is such a dumb idea. I know you surround yourself with people who wouldn't understand the meaning of nuance if the word nuance literally dropped from the sky and explained itself to them, but come the heck on me. Maybe there are some people who have seen Dragon Ball and early DBZ and, simply didn't care about its fights. That's not impossible, and that's definitely not a crime either. For someone who wants to wave their opinion around, I almost feel like you lack the tolerance to let anyone else have their own, you know?
Now, I apologize for that really long rant right there, but that just shows the amount of research these people put in.
Oh yes, the fact they have an opinion that doesn't align with mine means that they cannot do research. Next time someone tells me that Nico is trash, I'll just tell them to do more research.
Agachate y conocelo, agapete pronopelop, agapete pronopelop, agapete pronopelop.
It may not be the first time we've seen the Kamehameha, aka the Turtle Devastation Wave, but this is one of the longest and most tense by far. With Goku now dead, it's up to the Super Saiyan son Gohan to defeat a fully powered Cell. As both techniques clash, Gohan gets some aid from beyond the grave, and father and son dish out one hell of a blast.
Oh gosh, it's Revenge of the Stupid Video Editor. Come on! They even did this in their top 10 anime battle, so they've screwed up twice.
I can't believe you made this entire interjection lambasting the editor for something you don't even explain, when it's not really obvious, especially to non-Dragon Ball fans and those who don't care about nitpicking Watchmojo's countdown, which is probably everyone that isn't me. First off, I should clarify that when I meant the Revenge of the Stupid Video Editor, this was in reference to the point I made just before this, whereas the narrator of this countdown was explaining one thing, but the footage showed something else. Though I should briefly note that I was going off of assumption, and while I still think there probably was a difference in what the narrator was showing and what the editing team was putting on the screen, again, it's all assumptions and I probably should have treated it as such. It's an iffy point, though I don't fully disagree with my past self though, and the fact that me and my past self can find common ground is a bit scary if you ask me. Whatever though. That brings us to the point in which I lambast the editor again. Again though, I don't even bother explaining my issue, which definitely kills this point before he can even take off. My issue here was that the narrator was describing the final showdown between Gohan and Cell during the final few episodes of the Cell games. Yet the editor shows an entirely different scene, that being Gohan humiliating Cell from a few episodes earlier. I think this is a nitpick, but I guess that's a decent point to make. Good job past me, you're -5 and 2 so far.
Number 1, Goku's surprise.
Nappa, watch out! This one is much more powerful than he appears! Here I come, boy!
We couldn't resist. So much love and equally as many memes have been made for this clip, and we can't get enough of it.
Really? This is what we get. Because it spawned a meme. We get it at number 1. No. Just no.
Okay, I'm just gonna be the one to point out how they weren't saying it was done because of the memes, just it spawned a few memes because it was a cool moment that people love. Please stop assuming things.
Goku arrives to take on both Vegeta and Nappa during the first invasion of Earth. His power level, thanks to his training, leaves them a tad bit shocked.
What makes it even worse? They don't even bother showing it. Why put it at number 1 if you're not even gonna show it? I guess you could go as far to say that they were just talking about Goku returning and surprising everybody, but then again, how many times has it happened in the franchise?
Holy shit, that is such a bad take that I'm actually baffled. Who let me have opinions in 2016? I almost want to go back in time and fucking nab my ability to have human rights. But okay. First off, again, it wasn't up here for the meme. I should clarify that the meme in question is the very famous quote, "It's over 9,000. But honestly, if they wanted to put the meme here, they probably would have put the meme here instead of the whole talking about the whole sequence. And hey, this is fair. I can see why this would be such a big moment to Dragon Ball fans, especially those who watched the series up to this point. See, Prior to this scene, we saw countless heroes get killed by this character Nappa, and we were close to seeing Gohan and Krillin suffer the same fate. It was probably a big relief to see Goku show up and overpower the person responsible for the death of many fan favorite characters. I imagine I wrote this scene off because prior to this, believe it or not, I hadn't watched or read the Saiyan saga yet. Yeah, don't fuck with us Dragon Ball fans, we don't actually watch the show. Also yes, Goku showing up again happens a lot. Counting all 4 Dragon Ball series, it happens a total of 7 times within the Piccolo, Saiyan, Frieza, Buu, Super 17, and Resurrection F arcs. 4 times if we're counting just the Z stuff, since it happened twice in the Frieza arc. But here's my retort. Boo-hoo nigga, I don't care. Maybe people actually like these scenes despite that factor. Maybe these ones are actually kinda cool, especially considering the context of the scene as I established earlier.
Heck, they even said it spawned countless memes.
Thank you, Pass Me, I wouldn't have guessed that.
And a matter of fact, nobody really even talks about this moment at all. They're usually talking about Vegeta's moments or Gohan's moment.
Ah yes, proof? No? And there it is. Also Gohan's moment? Because the kid's got quite a few. Like, hurting Raditz, fighting Vegeta, fighting Frieza, his fight with Cell, his fight with Boo. Also, is it just me or did I start whispering all of my lines randomly? Like, I was a bit more loud at the start, but now I sound like I'm trying to record at 4 a.m. before school. Like, it's a bit distracting. You mind speaking up past me? Whatever, I'm wasting my time. The video practically ends here and I'd prefer not to touch the dead memes in the old outro, as nostalgic as they may be. By the way, I won't be giving my final thoughts for these videos, at least any that aren't brief and to the point. My thoughts here? Silence, Dragon Ball fan. This video. Okay, let's get this one over with. Okay, in February 2016, some kid by the name of the Robloxer2238 made this video ranting on Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, aka Sonic 06, Sonic's very infamous 15th anniversary outing that is very well known for, well, just sucking in general. You don't need to worry about details, because Robloxer doesn't do too much of that, and neither do I when I covered this video in December 2016. Funny thing, this was actually my first disowned commentary. I disowned it not too long after I released it, but I was never really able to put my finger on why I didn't like it, though in hindsight it's kind of obvious given the fact that the whole video is basically just me yelling at a child for the crime of ranting on Sonic 06, the horror. I'd save this for final thoughts, but I hate this video and I kinda wanna punt my December 2016 self for this video and I really don't wanna revisit it, but you know, for the sake of facing myself and my inner insecurities, I might as fucking well. So without further ado, let's get into this one as well.
Now before we get in, let me explain what I'm doing. This is a commentary on a video that was done back in February. And yes, it is pretty late, but I just had to do it because, well, just take a look.
Well, I mean, the video being old isn't even an issue to begin with. The video wasn't even a year old when you covered it yet. And it's not like there's any specifics as to why you shouldn't cover it, like the person behind it regretting it or drama or something, so I don't really see the problem first off. And even if there was, you don't really answer why you think you have a good excuse. You just say, hey, check this shit out, and fucking dip on me. We're not even 30 seconds in and I'm already in a real self-loathing mood.
You know why I hate Sonic 06? Well, the first reason is actually something you probably wouldn't think of. The original release date for Roblox was 2006, and Sonic 06 was obviously released in 2006. So Roblox might have lost some stuff like that, and like lost. Some people may have forgotten about it and not liked it.
Okay, first, Roblox was released in early 2006, while Sonic 06 was released near the end of the year.
This doesn't actually debunk this though, because even if the games were released in different parts of the year, Sonic 06 could have easily taken attention off of Roblox. I really don't see the logic behind this point. Sure, Roblox's popularity could have faded away during the 9 or 10 months it took for Sonic 06 to come out, but we shouldn't rule out how Sonic 06 still could have taken away any that remained or some. I'm not saying it did happen, but this reason wouldn't inherently not make it a possibility past me. I think you should know that.
Even so, Roblox isn't a AAA game, so of course Sonic 06 had more attention than it.
Okay, but this means he should be mad about it. Why exactly, past me? The kid's upset because apparently Sonic 06 took away attention from Roblox, but stating that this was expected doesn't mean the boy shouldn't be allowed to be upset about that.
Second, what the heck does this have to do with the game being horrible? Okay, it took away attention from Roblox. That doesn't really matter, it's kind of irrelevant. Okay, no, it's really irrelevant.
LunaticTheGame. Look, I don't want to be mean, except I really do because you kind of deserve this, me. But you wouldn't know irrelevant if I grabbed a dictionary and beat your ass with it. Look, at the end of the day, this is some kid's dumb rant on Sonic 06, and as part of that rant, he gives reasons why he isn't too big of a fan of the game. Here, he states one of the reasons he hates the game is because it apparently took away attention from Roblox. Whether or not that's true or not, that's at least a reason he hates the game, and that's not irrelevant at all. At most, it might not be true, but who cares? I absolutely would not call that irrelevant.
Agachate con la shell. Agachate from
This game is like, hello, you want to die? Sure. Okay, welcome to Die Simulator.
Honestly, the way you explain this makes me think that you've never played the game.
Okay, let me get this straight. This makes you think he hasn't played the game. Because he's describing the game as, like, Die Simulator. I don't understand. Like, I guess ultimately that's how you see it, but I can't understand why. Like, I guess that's kind of an extreme way of putting the game, but hey, is that illegal when discussing something you don't like?
Honestly, the way you make it sounds is like this game is some sort of torture device.
Exaggeration is a thing, my guy.
It's not even that bad. It's more annoying than it is horrible.
Can you go one fucking video without shoving your goddamn opinions down everyone's throat? Like, yeah. Even now, I don't remember outright hating Sonic 06, but I don't really think that matters because there are still people who don't like it, and that's perfectly fine. I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish by saying you think it's annoying but not terrible. Also, I just noticed this, but this background just fucking blows. Like, not the background itself. I mean, the background is a bit iffy, but I don't really feel like commentating on that because I think that's just me. And hell, it is good chilling for Dragon Quest IX, which is a great game. Please play it, everybody. It's just how you edit it. It really feels like you edited this video with the stills and then just randomly drop something on the background with little care. Like, the issue with it itself is that it just changes ratio so damn much in this video. Sometimes it's half, sometimes it's full, sometimes it's mostly covering everything. Try again past me.
Jeez, you barely know what to say. Now, I won't blame you if your video's unscripted or not, but even back when I started making videos, I still knew what to say because everything I wanted to say was in my head. Right?
I know. I do not like the gameplay mechanics because it was glitched out a lot, but...
Okay, barely, but still.
Personally, I really don't see the point of this. I get it was a joke, but the punchline was just, hey kids, I made this dumb video about Sonic 06 when I was 11 too. You wanna see it? And like, it really ends up feeling really hollow if you ask me.
Makes me so mad. Probably, first of all, the name sucks. Second of all, if this game was good, which it's not, by the way,
I can tell.
So not only was I a bad commentator in 2016, going off the fact that my avatar images just fucking vanished, I was also a magician apparently. Good to know.
Also, the name sucks? Why does that even matter? Have you not heard of the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover?
That shouldn't mean he isn't allowed to not like the name past me. Shut up before I use a book to smack you.
Look at games like Mother. That game is freaking legendary, and I kinda don't like its title.
By the way, this is a lie, because I actually really like the name Mother, and I know I did back then, even if it has nothing to do with the first two games, but that doesn't really matter. If I'm gonna retort this point, just play that point I made a few minutes ago. Boo-hoo, nigga, I don't care.
But either way, it doesn't even matter what you think about the title. That doesn't make the game good or bad.
Okay, obviously, but the kid never said it did, and on the other hand, it's a rant. He's allowed to shit-talk the title if he wants past me. Sure, it may not affect the gameplay or the story, but it's still something that bothers him about the game, so let him complain past me. You know what, honestly, I have very little interest in sitting through the rest of this video, because, like, what am I doing here? Bothering the shit out of what is probably a 10-year-old for not liking Sonic 06. Like, come on, me. Cover literally anything else, you dumb bitch. I know I'm very harsh, but it's myself. I'm always like this. Anyways, I'm not gonna cover the rest of this fucking video. Theater guy, do me a favor and just skip this shit. Fine, cry baby, but I still would have liked to see you try and kill your past self. That would have been pretty funny if you asked me. Okay, so my third commentary is on a Dragon Ball YouTuber named Scorpion. Sometime in 2015, he made a top 10 reasons why Dragon Ball GT sucks video on an anime known as Dragon Ball GT, the anime-only direct sequel to Dragon Ball Z. In early January 2017, I made a commentary on that. That's all you need to know, so let's cover this video.
Today, I'll be taking a stab at Scorpion, another Dragon Ball guy like Geekdom and so on and so forth. This video was released back in 2015 and was his first big hit. So wait, why am I doing a video so old? Well, this video is a rant on Dragon Ball GT, the second sequel to Dragon Ball and the one that's been disowned by Dragon Ball Super. It gets a lot of hate from fans, and they have good reasons to hate it. However, this video gives like the worst points in why it's bad. With that out of the way, let's check it out.
I'm gonna be honest, this is such a non-answer to the question of why am I covering an old video. I get the idea is that you want to make an example of general GT discourse and why you don't like it. It's a bit too bad this was in no way clarified or even implied in this video though. You instead just give us some sort of history lesson on Dragon Ball GT and what it is, which is something you could have easily done maybe 12 seconds ago when you gave the context to what you were covering past me. For a minute, you had me thinking this whole bit of context was done out of order with you going off on what GT was far after you explained you were covering a video on somebody ranting on GT. I didn't realize you intentionally did it that way. Honestly, a TLDR is what the fuck were you thinking past me?
Trench coat with shorts on and boots? Not to mention a cowboy scarf? Why the fuck would he wear that? Shouldn't that be the last thing he would want to wear since Android 17 is probably the last person he would ever want to look like?
Okay, the point here isn't flawed, it's just the manner of it. I mean, you using text. Now, I would like to get out of the way that text and commentaries, I don't think it's as inherently problematic as people make it out to be, but I do feel the usage of it here is a bit weird and honestly a bit unnecessary. See, I recall I did this because I felt that the point here may or may not have been good, so I wanted to throw it into text, but I don't really understand the logic behind it though, as it still gets the same point across just in text. So if the point is bad, it remains bad, just in text. Actually, in hindsight, well, the overall point, which was that 17 and Trunks of GT do not know much about each other, is good, but why are you writing their small amount of beef off as just plot reasons? You know that's still beef, right?
If you really look at the details, you'll notice that none of the characters look anything close to what they should have looked like.
Bring out the animation.
Hey, pass me. Score was more so discussing how the characters tend to not look like how they should in GT. You showing clips of off-model Z clips doesn't really do anything to argue this point. Like, yeah, ZT had bad-looking episodes. What does that have to do against the fact that GT characters don't look anything like they do with Z characters? Now, present-day me could make the argument that the claim Score is making is overall bullshit because GT and Z literally have the exact same art style and near-identical character models, and while there are episodes that do look off-model, otherwise the series very much looks almost exactly like Dragon Ball Z, darker color tone aside.
Okay, yeah, the models were different than they were in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but even then you have to admit, these different models in GT actually helped GT's animation. The last house who struggled to make animation in Z, and they were making most of the animation in Z in fact, actually did a better job in GT there, and the reason? Well, it's because of simpler models. I know it may be different, but if it at least helps the animators get used to stuff, then I'm okay with it.
This point is so dumb, even the background couldn't take it and dipped out. Okay, but in all seriousness though, this ultimately feels kind of like an excuse. Because yeah, even if the models are simpler and better for animators, that doesn't really negate the issues Score has here. In the same way, while the simpler models of Dragon Ball Super Broly are great because they help animators, that fact's not going to matter to a fan, especially one who is more used to the realistic designs of DBZ and DB Super. Even then, the reason I have the feeling the background dipped is because ultimately, this is a load of nonsense. As I alluded to earlier, GT basically looks the same as Z. The models are no different. They are more or less touched up versions of the Z models. In fact, I'd argue they're a tad more detailed than before. You use Last House as an example and point out how they improved quite a bit when, I'd argue they've remained the same since the Frieza arc. For clarification, Last House is an animation studio on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z whose more undetailed art style clashed with the art style of DBZ, and the art quality would dip once they lost a large number of their best animators towards the end of the Frieza saga. I really should have clarified a tad bit more about that back then, but a TLDR is that I don't think they've changed much given they still suffered all the quirks that came with their late Z art style. Though in the years since this video's release, I have grown to appreciate their work, and by that I mean Taichihiro Ohara's work, because by God, his rugged art style is really cool. I know this is completely unrelated to the video, I just wanted an excuse to gush about his art style, because he is an underrated fucking animator.
Number 7, the music. The music in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z were amazing. They are so good that I even bought the soundtrack score to the series.
Oh gosh, guys, stand back. This is a real hardcore Dragon Ball fan. He bought all the CDs.
Okay, I understand this was like meant to be a funny meme, but it really falls flat. Like he's just trying to say he liked the DBZ official soundtrack so much he bought it, which leads into the part where it's disappointing that GT soundtrack came out the way it did. Yeah, he's a fan of the soundtrack. What's the problem? What's the meme? Like, TLDR, I really don't understand what you were going for here, me.
But the music in GT, what the hell was that? It sounded like the music from movies that came out of the Sci-Fi Channel. The movies that looked like they had a budget of $19. It is so bad. I don't know why there are still fans of the GT series when the fight scenes don't have a good background song to back it up. The music in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z fit perfectly on every scene to fit the tone of the situation. I mean, they fit so well that there are some parts of the show where my ass would even cry. I shit you not. But the music in GT, I guess you could say it does fit in well with its stupid, retarded scenes and disappointment.
Now, honestly, I don't think calling everything you see retarded and stuff isn't really gonna help your argument at all. Now, granted, I don't like this soundtrack that much, finding it generic and I tune music, but it had some good songs and it was some good placements that make it very...
Marcelo, agáchate con Marcelo.
Think about how bored we were when we saw the filler scenes in the Dragon Ball Z series. Remember the Garlic Jr. episodes? Those were fucking horrible and they weren't a part of Akira Toriyama's manga.
Okay, to poke at score real quick, this really isn't a good example because when you really look at how people felt about this arc, it's not universally hated or considered boring across the board. It's more so split between the Dragon Ball fandom, I'd argue.
So when you make an entire series and it's all one giant filler, what do you expect is going to happen?
I don't know. Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, Cooler, Future Reborn. You know, the one Toriyama had no involvement in but fans still consider canon.
Okay, you had me for a while because, yeah, true. The reception of those movies, while these days a bit more on the mixed side, has always been a lot of praise for the concepts introduced and the characters too. However, to say that a lot of people claim it as canon is such a jump in everything that I really don't get this. Okay. I think what I was going for was that, to fans, canon equals quality. Thus, these were so good, fans considered it canon, which is a large generalization. Even I feel offended. Fans don't usually consider the movies canon because they literally cannot fit into the canon since they were just made to be Dragon Ball shorts that just take the characters and then put them in DBZ-like situations. I gotta explain this now. So, for those non-DBZ viewers who don't understand me, let me take you to the second Cooler movie as an example. This movie features the cast from the opening of the Android Saga, given it has both Goku and Vegeta as Super Saiyans and has Gohan's design from the start of this arc. However, it cannot take place here because they spent that part of the story searching for the androids and later Cell. There is no point where they could have run off to the movie's location, New Namek, not to mention the God of Earth is Dende, and by the time he was God of Earth, Gohan not only had a completely different hairstyle, but he was also a Super Saiyan as well to that point. So it really wouldn't make any sense for this to happen anywhere in the Android Saga. I am leaving out a lot of information, but we'd be here all day if I tried to make any sense of this, so I'll link a guide on DBZ movies and how they cannot fit into their canon in the description. I mean, if that still exists on DBZ Wiki, please don't let me down, DBZ Wiki.
When you make a series without Akira Toriyama working on it, you know you're destined for massive disappointment. Number 4.
This is a nitpick, but I feel it's a little sloppy having random bits of the video you won't tackle here, Lunatic. Since you aren't going to do anything with it, why not cut it and instead just start the lead up of the interjection with the part when he introduces the next segment? Just a suggestion here.
Number 4. Storyline ripped straight off of Dragon Ball. The funny thing about this show is that when I first saw it, I was about 10 years old. And even there, I was saying the exact same things I am now. Usually when I see something as a kid, I don't usually notice that something was bad. They caught the fact that Dragon Ball GT was an exact rip-off of Dragon Ball.
Okay, honestly, I don't think any major plot points were ripped from Dragon Ball. I don't even think any minor ones were taken either. They were more of homages than rip-offs. But, you know, let's see how he does this one.
So I understand where I was coming from here. I wanted this to lead up to the next point, which would be a joke, which I'll get to that when I get to that. But this whole section falls completely flat because I go on this tangent that I do absolutely nothing with. I go for a, I don't agree, but let's hear him out thing. But I also add a whole argument into it with the whole, they're more homages, which I could have easily said after I was done complaining about how bad his examples were. Pass me. If you really felt the need to throw this in, why not throw in a few examples yourself right away to point out how they seem to be homages? Whatever.
In Dragon Ball, Goku takes on Demon King Piccolo's children. Don't the dragons from GT look exactly like those ones?
Okay, how about no?
Look, I understand this point. Not only was this meant to be the payoff to me saying, let's see how he handles it, but it was also my exact reaction to the point, because even now I agree, these look nothing alike. Piccolo's minions weren't even dragons, they're demons, but that's beside the point. This doesn't argue that. I understand to you it's obvious, Pasmi, but you should still go into some detail instead of saying, no fam, to the very least, giving your audiences kind of do that. I mean, it goes without saying, your audience might not know that.
Then Goku kills Super Android 17 by piercing through his body. Just like how Goku pierced through King Piccolo's body in Dragon Ball.
Or like how he killed Hirudegan back in movie 13 with the Dragon Fist, which he happens to be using right now.
That doesn't really debunk him, though. You just point out how he also did in another moment in the show. What does that matter? It could mean quite a number of things, actually, but I did absolutely nothing to point these out other than say it happened. Like, I guess I was trying to say it's a movie done multiple times, thus it doesn't make any sense for it to be a scene ripping off Dragon Ball, because that'd be like calling Goku using the Kamehameha at any point in DBZ or GT a ripoff of him using it in Dragon Ball. Or I could have been saying that's less of a ripoff of Dragon Ball and more so movie 13. Either way, the point's either somewhat good but shaky as hell in the first case, or outright stupid in the second one, given that in that case it's more than likely a homage to both. And actually, I'm gonna argue score, because good lord, this point has haunted me for 3 years now, because like, legit, these are some of the worst examples humanly possible. The first example is literally just a coincidence. The enemies happen to take on designs that look like dragons, but their reasons for being around are completely different. Not to mention Piccolo's minions and the Shadow Dragons have so little in common design-wise, aside from having some fucking wings. You are literally stretching score. I don't mean to be rude, but my god, is that such a bad example. On the other hand, your second one is, like I said earlier, it's a homage to the scene. How is that a ripoff? Earlier you said the plot was ripped straight off of Dragon Ball, but this isn't the story or plot that's being ripped off, it's just a quick callback.
Number 3. Plot holes. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z had their share of plot holes. But if you thought they had plot holes, you should see how many there are in GT. It's embarrassing.
I hate to inform you, but Dragon Ball GT has less plot holes than both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Cool argument and all, but it turns out it's non-canon because the proof that this is true seems to not have existed. Look, if you're going to make a statement like this, at least link to where you found this claim and where the proof is. Like, I know it exists. I found this somewhere on a Dragon Ball wiki, but you need evidence for this point to fully work past me, just wanting to let you know that.
GT only has a lot of minor plot inconsistencies that mess with C's power scaling, which was already pretty bad on its own.
Yes, so it has plot holes past me.
By saying that there's been another 7 Dragon Balls that aren't meant to be taken, then why the fuck have them around? In fact, how can they exist if there is no one that brought them there?
Excuse me, I'm getting a call from a guy named Piccolo. I think he says you need to rewatch the series.
I still find it weird how the reflective world has a cellular connection. That is so random.
Hey, get off your phone! You're in a theater!
Alright then, come down and make me. Thought so. Though, I mean, what's stopping you? I won't actually do anything. I was just goading you.
Nothing. Just take your phone call and the interjection so we can continue.
Okay. Hello? Huh? Piccolo from the hit series Dragon Ball Z of the Dragon Ball franchise? What are you doing, and how do you still have my number? It's been almost 4 years since you last called me. Oh, sorry, what did you call for? Wait, that wasn't you who made the Black Star Dragon Balls? It was Kami? Huh. Wish I'd known that sooner. Oh, sorry Piccolo, I'm getting another call. Tschüss. Guten Abend? Night Tie, how'd you get my number? Well, you weren't supposed to be under my bed that time, joke or not. Oh, you made a video on this point, so I should know this now? Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I forgot. It has been a while. Alright, I'll see you later. Tell Neko Shadows to tell her boyfriend that he's my hero trash and that he should update his score on Hunter x Hunter. Shoes! Okay, where was I? Right. Piccolo didn't make the Black Star Dragon Balls, Kami did. Okay, hi, another post point here. I went out to go for the source, and it turns out the true creator of the Black Star Dragon Balls happened to be this unnamed Namekian. Just the thing is the unnamed Namekian would later turn out to be Kami, and, you know, Kami split in two. His evil side went on to become Piccolo. So I guess one could make the argument that, by all technicality, Piccolo did make the Black Star Dragon Balls, but, I mean, I'm not too sure. It sort of is implied that, you know, the unnamed Namekian is just Kami, and and Piccolo is just the manifestation of all his evil, dark thoughts that, you know, that were at the back of his head. So who knows, ultimately? I still think my point is correct, but it just depends on your interpretation of the source material.
Then, later in the series, they say that the Dragon Balls are breaking and unleashing evil dragons based on each ball because they have been used far too many times. Really? Is that just your excuse of having dragon-looking enemies just like in Dragon Ball?
I have to be the one to point out how that's not a plot hole, that's just a story setup you don't like. There's kind of a difference there.
Can I get some food now?
So we talked about the plot holes. Now let's get down to the bigger mess, the plot lines. Turning Goku into a kid was the start of a retarded storyline. Fighting opponents weaker than themselves and being afraid of them is another. Hiding from weak-ass enemies, fighting giant worms, and getting their asses kicked by three little fellas in red spandex who dance off and make you dance with them? What the fuck was that?
Toriyama humor, my friend. Now go watch the first arc and I'll give you a pass.
Yeah, but just because it's kind of like humor you would see from Dragon Ball author Akira Toriyama, that doesn't mean he has to like it. This point would only really work if Sora said something along the lines of, "This doesn't fit well in Dragon Ball," which obviously he didn't say or utter anything close to that.
Can I get some food now?
Number one is Pan. This bitch had to be number one. GT had so many fuck-ups, but Pan was their fucking worst of all. This bitch was here from the start. She's the most annoying character in anime I've ever seen, and there are a lot of annoying bitches in anime. She just wouldn't shut up. Pan is like the Scrappy-Doo of Scooby-Doo. Pan is the Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars who just wouldn't shut up.
Now, if you actually had a reason after this slow and very boring build-up, I would actually be okay with this. However, you have the slow and boring build-up that is meant to give you an opening to explain these comparisons. However, you never give a complete comparison.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is that he needed to explain his comparisons, but he's simply comparing Pan to other annoying media characters. There isn't anything wrong with just doing that. He doesn't have to tell people why, because he started with a few comparisons.
And the one thing that adds the cherry on top of that turd-covered sundae is that Pan is the only character who did not die.
Wow. This is the biggest problem? That she never died? What, would have dying made her a better character?
Well, no. The point seems to be that he finds it annoying that of every character, the one who didn't suffer a painful demise just happened to be the character who he hated and felt deserved it the most. Also, dying doesn't inherently mean she could become better, but it still could lead to that possibility, as it could lead to character growth in the afterlife. Like, Goku went from hating his Saiyan origin to at the very least coming to terms with it while training to return to life. Pain could have maybe been in a situation where she recognized she fucked up and that's what caused her death and came back from it better. It's a hypothetical, but ultimately, yeah, it could make her a better character potentially.
Then again, nobody really died in GT. Piccolo, sure, but everybody else, no.
Okay? And? Like, what does this add? Nothing. Score is just talking about how it sucks that Pan in particular didn't die. Talking about the fact that nobody else died either doesn't really do anything, honestly, other than say that death wasn't a thing that happened much in GT. But not only did two whole main non-antagonist characters die, so it's not like death didn't happen at all in GT, and that it's no surprise that Pan didn't die, but that doesn't mean anything. Ironically though, Pan did seem to die at one point in the Super 17 saga, but then again, I'm only learning this recently, just because most of the time I see that arc, I fucking fall asleep because it's so boring, but who cares, it's beside the point. Anyways, that's all there is to the video, so enough about that. I actually have a lot more to say about this one because first off, I didn't actually expect to dislike this one as much as I did because I remember people praising the shit out of this video. I remember people using this as proof that I was getting better after my first commentary. Like, I have to admit, I do think it does improve upon specific aspects of my first commentary, but I still think it is an extremely weakly done commentary. Too much of this is as opinionated as my first commentary, and really, that's my biggest issue. My bias against Score for committing the horrible crime of being a Dragon Ball fan who happens to be complaining is there too. If I had any advice to my past self, well, it's to simply not be biased like that. Gee, I sure wish somebody punched me in the gut for that because I know I didn't listen to that for a few more commentaries. Fucking hell, this video. Okay. So for context for this video, my video on Scorpion ended up getting covered by a commentator named Jonie. So for my next commentary, I covered her. Really, that's all you need to know, it's just a continuation of the discussions from the last video. With that being said though, I have a bit of a disclaimer before we begin. See, this video is on Jonie, obviously, but the video came out long before she was out as trans, so I will be referring to her with her current pronouns and proper name, and I will also be censoring her dead name as much as I can by saying random words over it, but I really can't do the same with her old pronouns, so I really apologize for that. Otherwise though, that's all I wanted to say, so let's begin.
Hey Lunatic, it's me! The hell are you doing in here?
The salt. It's everywhere. Oh, hey Awesome Bro, what's up?
Some other guy made a video on your latest,
Commentary,
I do believe.
Okay, I have to break the fourth wall to explain this one, but this right here is pretty weird. See, there's a little line between me and Awesome Bro Gaming here that's supposed to be done, but just so happens to be missing, which is Awesome Bro Gaming handing me the files to Jonie's channel. I understand I was too nervous to ask for the line when I noticed it was missing from my collection of lines I've been given, and I do understand that I do have anxiety like that, but it was still worth a shot instead of just confusing your audience for no reason.
Oh, so...
Death!
7 subscribers, 4 commentaries, okay. Who's the guy exactly?
Okay, wait. If you just looked into who she was, why are you suddenly asking who they are again? You literally just looked into her files. Or whatever, since that line doesn't exist.
And so I decided to get you out for obvious reasons.
You want to do a co-op, don't you?
Well, holy, some actual respect from the community!
Wait, really? Where?
That ought to keep him down. Hopefully these drugs don't do anything, strange.
How do you drug somebody so hard it ends up sounding like you fucking smashed their forehead? Jeez Louise. I don't know if I'm nitpicking, but that's just plain weird. I do think in hindsight I edited this like the way I did because I wasn't trying to make it seem like I'd been injected with some sort of drug and knocked out. But the audio here doesn't get that idea across that well either. It's only thanks to the caption and Awesome Bro spelling it out himself. Also, like, I'm not usually the one to ask for too many details during an intro skit, but why does literally none of this make any sense? Like, I really don't understand what I was going for here. I'm in an asylum for some reason. Awesome Bro Gaming, my IRL friend, is here to drug me for some reason. Wait, actually, why does Awesome Bro show up to make me cover somebody if at the end of the day, he just shows up to fucking drug me and leave? It sounds like that was done to distract me, but he was able to simply knock me out by going, "Hey, look behind you, lunatic! People like you!" Which is funny, because I'd never fall for that. Nobody likes me, but that's beside the point. He says he's getting you out, which could have been a divergent, but that does make me question if it's some sort of plot point that I want to be freed from this asylum or something. Look, nothing here makes any real sense. Like, at the end of it, I'm left with more questions than answers, and it's not like that was intentional or anything. Usually when an intro does something like this, it's intentional, like for the sake of comedy, or because it's rather focused on being a meme over telling the story to set up the video part. This video, I literally have no idea what I'm trying to do here. It does fit the setup to the video quota it needs to, but I feel as an intro skit, if I even look below the surface and try to dissect it, this is so confusing, and honestly, I think the video would have been a lot better without this. At the end of the day, I was trying to set up my own storyline here, but so many things that would have been nice to add so I can make this narrative coherent happen to me missing. Things such as my commentaries prior to this being delusions, coming from me being held in an asylum because I went fucking insane after my Gligar 13 vids rants, and the subsequent backlash of said video, or the fact that the drug fucking murdered me and this video acts as a sort of purgatory for me. I've After the intro, there is a caption that does state, "Meanwhile in the dream world," but you'd assume I mean, like, sleepy time dream world, not fucking Deadland. Poor Awesome, bro. His talents were wasted in this intro skit.
Wait, what? What? Wait, did I just get called a weeb?
Guys, I think the drugs kicked in a little too late.
Okay, this joke gets me, because I get the idea behind it, but my 14-year-old self literally did everything in their power to make this line sound a combination of very weird and very stupid at the same time. What do you mean you think the drugs kicked in too late? What would the drugs kicking in earlier or later have to do with you not liking being called a weeb? This is such a weird retort. I've been sitting in my seat wondering if I should say anything about it, because I half see the idea behind it, but at the same time it feels oddly disconnected from what I was going for.
I told you I am not going to watch Soda online.
Blazing Hope wants to know your location.
Get that through your sick wires.
Commentaries were a mistake, said 50% of the community in 2019, but I'm getting ahead of myself right now. Anyways, I should note that a bit more of the intro skit is played, even though my past self doesn't actually make an effort to cover any of it after that really weird joke about my drugs not kicking in slow enough. I still don't understand that joke, to be honest, but whatever. I already said this during the score video, but past me, please make sure not to leave in irrelevant bits like this. It wastes time. Not to mention, it would have saved my eyes and ears of having to hear that line again. Holy shit, now I see why everyone thinks commentaries are the art form of Beelzebub. Beelzebub? Beelzebub. Satan.
Anyway, what anime is this guy complaining on? Bleach? Corey in the house?
Okay, hands up. What dumbass gave me VideoPad in 2017? You are in desperate need of a fucking slam to the face. It was already weird enough that I have some of the intro left in the video despite the fact that I never cover it, but it's even weirder how it just cuts out and immediately cuts the score's degree. Really weird.
After all that Goku went through growing up, after all the training and opponents he fought, why the fuck would you turn Goku into a kid? I know the only true reason to why they did this was because they wanted to copy the Dragon Ball series. This is the stupidest thing to do at the beginning of the series. When I saw this as a kid, I was pissed. I thought the show was having better Dragon Ball Z because it was a sequel, but it was so wrong. This was done to make Goku weak so that the next opponent takes on a bigger Goku. But if you can't come up with a better threat than Vegeta, then why the fuck would you make a sequel to Dragon Ball Z? I hate this. Goku became a true badass as an adult, and now we gotta see him act like a 4-year-old all over again.
Okay, first off, when Goku was turned back into a child, he retained all of his earlier memories and abilities, which makes him smarter than he was at the beginning of Dragon Ball. Second off, he's actually around the same strength as he was before. The only difference is his inability to control Super Saiyan 3. And then again, he uses so much energy when he's alive, so it's barely usable anymore.
At first, he's smarter than he was in Dragon Ball. That's really not saying much. Even though Goku is nowhere near as stupid as he was in the original Dragon Ball, he's still pretty dumb outside of fighting.
But my past self's point was that he wasn't necessarily dumbed down as score implied via his wording that now we gotta see Goku act like a 4-year-old all over again. No matter how dumb Goku may be, he isn't as dumb as he was at the very start of Dragon Ball when he's aged down in Dragon Ball GT. Basically, you waltzing in with he's still dumb doesn't really add anything, to be honest. Sure, I think that'd be a nice thing to add during a debate and something you could potentially throw against score, but definitely not against younger me.
Can I get some food now?
But even then, you have to admit, these different models in GT actually help GT's animation. The last house who struggled to make animation in Z, and they were making most of the animation in Z, in fact, actually did a better job in GT there. And the reason? Well, it's because of simpler models. I know it may be different, but if it at least helps the animators get used to stuff, then I'm okay with it.
The problem isn't that the designs are complex, it's when they get the designs completely wrong that it becomes a big problem. There's another video that covered why GT sucks, and I think you'll find a certain bit of footage you should look at. Take a look.
It's sad, she never linked that video, so I have no idea what video she was referring to be honest. Oh well.
Look at this! Look at this! Frieza's lips are not pink! That isn't Frieza! With the exception of Cell, most of the pictures usable animation errors. GT just butchers the designs of characters.
Let's get real.
I don't like where this is going.
The animators for those episodes were the biggest exception for GT's butchering of designs. I have a question. If GT's art style is so bad, then why the fruit is that the only episode that ever gets pointed out?
Well, I hate this point, but not because it's wrong, I actually agree with it. But this is the only episode that people point out? Proof? No? And there's the problem. What makes this point worse to me is that you don't even really expand on this, so just kind of leave it a bit hollow, to be honest.
Number 5, non-canon. The show is known for sucking mainly because it's a non-canon series. Akira Toriyama did not work on GT series. He would give Toei Animation permission to use characters, a decision I'm sure for a fact that he regretted. Think about how bored we were when we saw filler scenes in Dragon Ball Z series. Remember the Junior episodes? Those fucking horrible and they weren't part of Akira Toriyama's content. So when you make an entire series, and it's all one-giant filler, what do you expect is gonna happen? I don't know. Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, Cooler, Future Reborn. You know, the ones Toriyama had no involvement in but fans still consider canon.
Call me a nitpicker, but what he was talking about was a whole entire saga. You're comparing arcs of a saga to movies.
Okay, I'll retract that one. How about the Goku Black arc?
You should have just not said anything here, me. Jonie had a point about how your examples weren't fair because you were comparing entire story arcs to the short by comparison movies, so you stopped the video to acknowledge that the point is good, only to then start listing off new examples, which I guess works if you want to argue this against score, but I know you weren't trying to do that, you were instead listing these off to cover yourself, and it just doesn't work against Jonie. And right off the bat, this example's just terrible, because the Goku Black arc from Dragon Ball Super, while not necessarily written by Akira Toriyama from beginning to end, it was one that he outlined the story for Toei Animation and Toyo Tora, which yes, means he was involved with the project. This example just doesn't work.
The History of Trunks and Bardock special seem to be the canon version of the events, even though there's a manga for both versions.
First off, the Bardock thing. The Bardock thing almost works because, yeah, Toriyama had almost no involvement in that one, because he did draw up some characters, but that was it, he had no part in the story. And it's one of the most critically acclaimed Dragon Ball stories, but if Jonie's argument is that your usage of movies against story arcs isn't fair, then why use what was a television special, since Dragon Ball television specials, notably Bardock and Trunks's, were basically just televised movies? Not to mention that no, there isn't a manga version of the Bardock special. Sure, there is Dragon Ball Minus, which features Bardock and a Goku origin story, just like the Bardock special, but it doesn't even tell the same story, it just has those characters. It's doubly ironic because years after this video came out, Dragon Ball Minus would officially retcon its way into canon via Super Broly, but there was no way I would have known that back then. But I think that's amusing in hindsight. Also, you using the Trunks special leaves me especially baffled because that was written by Toriyama. He was the one who made the story and scenario. Sure, Toei filled in a number of the gaps when writing it, which led to the anime version being seen as largely superior, but if that's your argument, you are completely missing the point of your own argument from a video ago, because you're trying to prove that Toriyama not being involved with the Dragon Ball project doesn't inherently make it bad. In the case of this, he is still somewhat involved here since it's his story being adapted with some small things changed here or there. And like with the Bardock special, this was a television special, or basically a television movie, so this doesn't really work if Jonie was trying to say you shouldn't use the movies.
In Dragon Ball, Goku takes on Demon King Piccolo's children. Don't the dragons from GT look exactly like those ones? Okay, how about now?
Lunatic, buddy, I'm gonna put it blunt. You screwed up! You missed the chance to make a few decent points in this video and you let it fly by your head like a golf ball. You know, it's like how Demon King Piccolo's children were that, demons and not dragons. The fact that not all of them look like dragons, but some of them look anthropomorphic.
You kinda realize I was literally answering his question.
Yeah, but you literally didn't debunk anything.
He says, don't they look like dragons? I answer with no. Do you want me to give you a no-brainer answer, or do you want me to give an answer so long that will trigger Snake and his feminist pack?
Can you, like, not say anything for, like, forever? Never mind, this sucks. I'm gonna start talking now. Look, Luna, all Jonie wanted was for you to at least try to explain the point. I already said it with the score part, but it was kind of not as obvious as you fucking thought it was. No excuses here. Also, holy shit, I was a problematic young lad back then, huh? Anyone want to cancel me for this? Cause, I guess that's where it's canceling me over.
Because I am not up for either of those.
This GIF doesn't even fit with what you're trying to emote here. You know, can I just point out how Goku Black as an avatar just didn't fit me at this point in time? I was way too young sounding back then for such a gruff looking character to fit me. I really don't care at the end of the day about what avatars people use, but it's not helped by the fact that my images rarely even match with how I'm emoting in the video, so there's just this large disconnect between what I'm saying and what the images are showing, and it's really bothering me.
Then Goku kills Super Android 17 by piercing through his body. Just like how Goku pierced through King Piccolo's body in Dragon Ball. Or like how he killed Hirudegan back in movie 13 with the Dragon Fist, which he happens to be using right now.
And you missed a good point again, that being Goku didn't kill Super 17 with Dragon Fist. He killed him with Kamehameha after using Dragon Fist.
Nerd! Well, yes, but also no. See, Jonie is saying that I could have used this opportunity to point out how Goku didn't kill 17 with this move as he did with Piccolo like Score said he did, instead finishing him off with a Kamehameha directly after he did the move. Now, it wouldn't have debunked the overall point being made, which is that the move was similar to something from OG Dragon Ball, but it still would have been something neat to point out in its own right, even if it doesn't debunk the point.
Is that just your excuse of having dragon-looking enemies just like in Dragon Ball? I like how you pretend this is a terrible plot point. It's simple, but it's a fitting conclusion to the franchise. since hunting for the Dragon Balls was what Dragon Ball was about back in the beginning, and they combine it with the action they had in Z. And of course the final villains would be dragons. The Dragon Balls are the Dragon Balls! They spawn a dragon! Of course the villains would be dragons.
They didn't have to be dragons, though.
I don't like where this is going.
They could have, say, revived everybody evil who they were fighting against. After all, they were the ones that caused them to use the Dragon Balls in the first.
That's cool and all, but I don't see how it would have debunked my past self exactly, because the argument boils down to, well, they could have gone with this, when my argument was just that them using dragons as their final opponent makes sense from a narrative standpoint. Your argument wouldn't really mean anything unless I said this was the only logical conclusion for the series, or something along those lines.
One thing that adds the cherry on top of that turd-covered sundae is that Pan is the only character who did not die. Wow. This is the biggest problem? That she never died? What, would have dying made her a better character? Then again, nobody really died in GT. Piccolo, sure, but everybody else, no.
And you just took them out. Again. The fact that nobody died in GT is another flaw.
I mean, arguably that's true, but I don't see how that helped him out. His problem is that Pan specifically didn't die because he hates her. He doesn't seem to care that people didn't die in general, and while that could be an issue other people have, my point doesn't really help his point. I mean, he doesn't really do anything actually, but I already explained why that was.
And besides that, Vegeta hadn't died yet. He was about to blow himself up, but he wasn't dead yet. Even after he came back, he was still the same as before he went Majin.
You know, besides being visibly more protective of Earth and his family, but details.
I was only adding that since it seemed like he was singling her out and since he hated her and wanted mostly her dead. Besides that, it really isn't Toei's fault that Toriyama killed off 90% of the cast at least twice so they can't be revived.
Yeah, but Lunatic, you know, despite that, they could still use them, right? It isn't like the plot made 100% sure that the characters could never go back to Namek. In fact, after the Frieza saga, the characters went to Namek to use them during the Buu saga. Besides that, the major flaw with this point is that I feel you arguing Jonie with, I only added this point because he was singling her out, is simply put an excuse on your end. Anyways, I really want to keep all my thoughts here brief, so my only thoughts here, what the fuck were you thinking making this video? Like, I got so tired writing this script at the end of it, like, holy shit. So, my fifth commentary was on a video game reviewer by the name of Wesly Tomsky and his very terrible review of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't really remember this video being too bad, to be honest, but I do recognize that there are some points in here that are flawed anyway, so let's get started on this one.
No! This is a commentary on this guy. This guy is a reviewer who does videos on recently released video games and stuff. He recently did a video on why he thinks Breath of the Wild does not deserve its 10 out of 10s. Now, I can agree that Breath of the Wild is not perfect, and in some cases he's right. However, this guy doesn't understand the difference between problems and, well, things that just bother him.
This is just a nitpick, but problems, things that bother him, those are completely different, because problems bother people. I get you mean that there's a difference between things that are genuinely problematic and things that are just nitpicky and only bother him, but I think you could have clarified that a bit better, to be honest.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a masterclass in open-world design.
Breath of the Wild is a defining moment for the Legend of Zelda series.
Actually, nothing you show here ends up becoming relevant in any way after this. All this shows is that Breath of the Wild reviews are wildly positive, and while I guess that is something that is important with Wesly's video, as he does criticize people who are giving the game critical acclaim because how dare people like something I don't, but that's something the audience can easily discern from just hearing him complain about it. You don't need any of this to play out at all, honestly.
Well, what the f***? How come I didn't get a check from Nintendo? The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild does not deserve a 10. Not even f***ing close. Oh my god, at this point reviews have become advertisements for the damn game. Let's say some poetic bullshit like Breath of the Wild took me to places that I didn't think possible in games. Returning to Hyrule is truly a serene, tranquil experience that nobody should miss.
So are you telling me it's a problem when they try to describe how they felt playing the game? Okay, how about I just say the game is fun without a description as to why it's fun and just slap a 10 on it? That'll make it so much better, won't it?
You're missing the point, actually. Because he's just finding it extremely annoying that a lot of reviewers say a lot of over-the-top, over-poetic stuff. He wasn't saying explaining your points is bad or anything like that.
I'm confident that game reviewers don't exactly give a crap whether people dislike them for giving Breath of the Wild anything that isn't a 10. Heck, just look at IGN last year. They deliberately tried to get people to dislike the mess out of them by hating on the Sonic franchise.
Hold up, deliberately? Excuse me? I don't remember that part being true. I mean, Yeah, people hate IGN because they tend to give Sonic games low scores, even the ones Sonic fans like Sonic Unleashed per se, but I don't know about this being deliberate. Now, I said this because I once saw a video that said one of the people who said this actually did like Sonic, but I only saw the thumbnail of that, so I don't even know the full story. They could have been clickbaiting for all I know, but who fucking cares? And yes, before you ask, I did go and search for that video, I couldn't find it. So, blah.
No! Sprinting is on the... Oh, jeez, I gotta see... Nintendo buttons are oriented strange. A is where B should be, and Y is where X should be. They're, like, switched. To the point where A is still select, you know, go, continue, which is where B should be. So instinctively, after, you know, all your years of gaming, the button that's normally back is now forward. Like, in a conversation, like, yes is now no, and no is now yes, because Nintendo.
Unless this is exclusive to the Wii U, then I'm sure you can get used to it. When I started the game, I distinctly recall being confused over the controls, but now it's pretty simple and easy, and I even forgot it was an issue. Though to be fair, this video did come out a few days after the game was released. In other words, patience, my friend.
You know, past me, that still wouldn't take away from the fact that it's still an issue he had when playing the game. To him, it's still highly annoying, and you giving an anecdote about how you got used to it doesn't really change that fact completely. Sure, he could have gotten used to it, but it still doesn't take away from the annoying factor of having to get used to a control scheme that you're not used to. With that, I think I'm done with commentary number 5. For final thoughts, I've got nothing on myself, because as flawed as it is, I still think it holds up decently. Though Wesly's video is terrible in every inconceivable way, holy shit. This next video is a compilation of sorts. I cover 3 different rants that all regard to Dragon Ball Super, the other sequel to Dragon Ball Z, in one way or another. So with that in mind, expect spoilers for the Battle of Gods arc in that movie by extension, the Resurrection F arc in that movie by extension too, the Universe 6 tournament arc, and the Tournament of Power arcs.
No! Okay, for those who don't know, Dragon Ball Super is the sequel series to Dragon Ball Z. Now, back when the series came out, it had a rocky start with only 2 months of pre-production time, but ever since then, things have been changing. It changed so much, in fact, that it's completely unrecognizable from when it came out in 2015. However, that doesn't stop issues from forming, and currently it has been getting a lot of hate. So I've tasked myself with taking on 3 rants on the series. But now that all that bullcrap's out of the way, let's check out these videos.
This context is actually really bad, because you tell what Dragon Ball Super is and that it's improving as a series, but what are you covering exactly? This context does not go over any of the aspects being discussed throughout the video, such as the representatives from Universe 2 being based on Precure and how some people don't like that, or how Vegeta is apparently being written terribly, or whatever the second video you commentate is about. I'm not too sure anymore because you don't cover the video long enough to really give me an idea what the main discussion point is, and the video's long gone now, so yeah. Bad context.
I didn't want to be here. Slayer forced me.
Shut up, you weak. Okay, everyone, for years, people have been crying about, 20 years, people have been crying about, oh, okay, GT is not, it's not good as the original product. And I was like, yeah, I was amongst them. Yeah, it's not better than Dragon Ball Z. Because Toyama didn't make it. Then when Toyama finally came back, guess what he does? Deliberately tear down everything that he's made. He didn't right the wrongs. He didn't make Gohan be the main lead. He didn't bring back Launch and let Launch and Tien's chemistry build up to something new.
What type of expectations are those? And hey, I want to see Launch return too. But what are they gonna do with her? Bringing her back would add nothing to the plot. Absolutely nothing!
Okay, first off, for the sake of not confusing some of the non-Dragon Ball kids in here, Launch was one of the main supporting characters from the original Dragon Ball. She's infamous for kind of vanishing off of the face of the earth at the start of the Z half of the series because apparently Dragon Ball writer Akira Toriyama just completely forgot about her. Because of that, her last appearance in the manga is during the final arc of what is the Dragon Ball half, and while she does make a number of non-canon appearances in the first arc of the Z half, these eventually stopped and her only other moment in the series was a small cameo in the last arc of Z. It's a funny story, but point is, my subject is frustrated that one of the things Super didn't do was bring back Launch. Past me argues this would inherently mean nothing for some reason. So past me. Care to, say, elaborate? I know you have a reason for thinking that outside of the no reason you gave, which is because she wasn't a fighter last time we saw her, so what could she add to the series given it's an extremely action-heavy series, but you don't really elaborate on that. Either way, a few things.
First off, who's to say they can't just try doing something with Launch to give her some relevance? Sure, she probably wouldn't fit in during the Goku Black arc or Tournament of Power arcs, but let's pretend it's still mid-2017 like when this video came out, and pretend we don't know Super is going to end next March. Hypothetically, they could have a new, more character-focused arc that could reintroduce Launch and try doing something with her there. I know these are just hypotheticals, but the point I want to make is that inherently, no, it shouldn't mean she'd add nothing to the plot. Even if we ignore my hypothetical, your subject did say something about bringing back Launch to help build her chemistry with Tien, which was in the midst of being built back in Z, or at least its anime, before Launch just fucking disappeared. Who knows, I could have given her something to do, and hell, could give Tien some development, because it's not like he was doing anything in Super that didn't involve getting beat up.
Everything. If you're not off the Dragon Ball Super bandwagon now, then I don't know what else to tell you. Everything that you guys, everything that we all loved about DBZ is being destroyed in Dragon Ball Super. Everything. It's being thrown away. And it's being thrown away by the guy who created it. Remember GT, the whole argument with GT was, oh, it doesn't make, GT's not that great because Toriyama didn't make it. But Toriyama made, okay, he helped influence Dragon Ball Super. And Dragon Ball Super is doing a worse job, okay? It's doing a worse job than GT.
Okay, pitting this entirely on Toriyama isn't the most realistic of things to do because he only does, like, the outlines. And I mean, like, the rough works. I mean, like, he may have been the reasoning behind, let's say, Frieza's return, but not the simplicity of Caulifla's Super Saiyan transformation. Hell, he's even gotten annoyed at Toei's failure when working with Super Saiyan anime adaptation. So blaming Toriyama is just a false accusation.
This is actually a decent point, but I think there are some flaws here and there, notably the lack of evidence or stuff like that. Plus, I could have made a better argument to demonstrate how it's clear that Toriyama is just doing rough versions of the story. I think that's most clear through the fact that the Dragon Ball Super anime and the Dragon Ball Super manga follow similar outlines but tend to reach different conclusions of the same events. For an example, in the Universe 6 tournament arc, we see many of the same events but treated differently. For example, Majin Buu takes the initiation test for the tournament but fails it in the manga, but falls asleep in the middle of it in the anime. Later during the tournament, many of the characters fight a guy named Frost, who in the universe is a nicer variation of an earlier Dragon Ball antagonist, Frieza, or so it initially seems. See, it's later revealed that Frost had been cheating to win fights over the main characters. In the anime, this is how the series reveals he's actually just as bad as Frieza, and that he's been hiding his evil side the whole time. In the manga, he's simply cheating, and while that's kinda sus, he isn't outright a horrific person in this version.
Now the Dragon Ball fanboys, or Dragon Ball Z YouTubers, whatever, they turn a blind eye to all this. And this is why I question them. Okay, they're so eager to have Dragon Ball Z back, remembering nostalgia. But where is the part where your nostalgia wears off, and it's like, this is dumb. You take a step back, and it's like, this is stupid.
Okay, I feel like the moment we wipe away the nostalgia, we'll realize how simple Dragon Ball is compared to newer shows like Naruto or Fairy Tail. Maybe we'd remember that the series was just a gag manga, a series about two teens looking for the Dragon Balls with the help of a talking transforming pig, a transforming cat, a Japanese man, a fat samurai with a leg, and a martial arts teaching cats who live upon a tower. Maybe it's the part where we realize the series is for young kids in Japan, not middle-aged men who sit in their mother's basements expecting something akin to fucking Logan.
But even if the series is made for kids, does that really excuse how it could be up for debate that it's not as good as the past series? Or does it have the same spirit? I feel like you're misunderstanding here, past me.
I don't even know what's been going on with Vegeta and everything, but in Dragon Ball Super, Toei really messed up Vegeta's character. First with a bad animation.
Okay, this is where I stop you real quick. Bad animation ruined Vegeta.
Okay, chalk this up to poor wording, but I think he meant Toei was fucking up first with Dragon Ball Super's bad animation, and then with Vegeta's character. Not that bad animation had to do with Vegeta's character being ruined.
No! Vegeta hasn't even come close to even killing the villain ever since the Android Saga. The Android Saga! And do you know how long that was?
A message to the entire Vegeta fan base. Can you guys quit bitching about how Vegeta hasn't killed a single villain? Like, seriously, this complaint never made sense because annually it was always Goku killing the villain because he's the main character. Obviously, the only differences were going on in the Android Saga and Trunks in the Goku Black arc, which is fairly recent, may I add. But I'm pretty sure the reason Vegeta has never killed a villain is because those arcs weren't his stories. Goku may usually be late, but arcs like the Saiyan and Frieza arcs are about his background and heritage.
I mean, yeah, that's not wrong per se, especially in the case of the Saiyan arc, but I do have some grievances with the Frieza arc example, because while it is true that this arc does continue delving into Goku's background with the Saiyans and ultimately does see him avenge his people at the end of it, it's not like Vegeta didn't have a stake in that arc too. I mean, this was also Vegeta's story as well. After spending all of the Saiyan arc being the imposing antagonist, we get backstory for where his mindset and mentality came from. Early on, he discovers that Frieza did in fact kill his people, and he makes it a point to try and become a Super Saiyan since he believes, as Prince of Saiyans, he is destined for the role. Plus, Frieza is said to have been fearful of Super Saiyans, plus it would have definitely been a good way to stick it to Goku after he beat him in the prior arc. Now, the story obviously wasn't written with Vegeta being the hero in mind, but it's it's not like it couldn't have been, because he still has the same stake in this being his story arc as Goku. It also helps that he isn't on the sidelines for 75% of the fucking arc, Goku.
The Android Saga was about passing the torch, that's why we had Future Trunks and Gohan. Gohan grew from a spectator level to the strongest main character, so of course he kinda needed it.
What is this? Because point-wise and wording-wise, in both cases, I'm left wording what Past Me was trying to get across here. I'm going to start with wording. Okay, so from what I'm getting, you're trying to say that this arc was about passing the torch, and that's shown through Gohan and Trunks, who I should clarify are the sons of the protagonist, Goku and Vegeta. Anyways, point is, this could have been worded better because the way you say it makes it sound like the sole fact that Gohan and Trunks are present means that this arc is about passing the torch. I mean, sure, when you put in the context that they're both the sons of the main characters and that they're important in this arc, that's not an impossibility, but you don't do that Past Me. Anyways, about the point itself, you make the argument that the Android arc is about passing the torch, and to that I say, well, no, but also no, but maybe. Because as I said earlier, yeah, there is some legitimacy to that claim, but I also need to point out that the series doesn't really go out of its way to be thematic about the whole fact that the two main characters' sons are here and are important. Actually, Gohan isn't important at all until the very end of the story arc when he goes up against Cell, and Trunks is here to mostly relay information about the future, and he gets like, I think 3 major fight scenes.
Also, and yeah, there was Resurrection F, but I'm inclined to say that movie sucked.
Okay, this point needs just a bit more elaboration, but what I guess I was trying to go for was that Resurrection F could have had Vegeta killing the main villain and not seem out of place, which is true given that he and Frieza have an amount of beef comparable to Goku and Frieza, given Frieza is responsible for destroying his planet and using him, Nappa, and Raditz as puppets, not to mention he hadn't properly gotten back at Frieza for humiliating him back in the Frieza arc. However, Past Me, just saying the movie sucked and moving on doesn't help your case. In fact, that I feel somewhat strengthens your subject's point even if the point is still genuinely piss poor.
Like, in the only screen time that Vegeta got was just like him being the side character. I mean, like, the running out of ideas for Vegeta. I mean, like, he didn't even like defeat Frieza or anything.
Maybe we can assume that he stood around because it was a one-on-one rematch between Goku and Frieza, so Vegeta didn't need to do anything.
Yeah, well, that ultimately gives Vegeta a side character role because he doesn't really do anything other than stand around and watch this 1v1. Anyways, I think this is where I'll stop this video because the video mostly ends after that. Yeah, ultimately there isn't too much to cover in this one, especially compared to my first, third, or fourth videos I made, but it's undeniable that at this point, Past Me still had a long ways to go. I really don't have much to say about this video in particular, other than the fact that I feel it again falls under the flaws of my Scorpion and Watchmojo videos, in the sense that I seem so biased against my targets because they happen to be Dragon Ball fans complaining. I mean, ultimately, a few of these videos aren't exactly the best by arguments, not to mention my manner of arguing against them are shaky at best. Don't get me wrong, I feel to the very least a number of these points still hold up, but not in the same manner as the video I made prior, for an example. Well, it looks like this is a good excuse to use my I can skip you by just skipping to my final thoughts card I was given before we started, because boy, the next few videos are really just nothing. So first off was commentary number 7, where Past Me covered a commentator known as Strange Elephant. Strange Elephant was covering Resident Bad cartoon reviewer The Mysterious Mr. Enter, and his review on a specific episode of Flapjack that involves its protagonist falling in love, which unleashes these love hearts that are actually bugs, and people eat them. I don't know. Point is we discussed this and it leads to this video. I have nothing to say about it in all honesty. I sat through it, it's a bit shaky, but ultimately there's nothing really noteworthy here to cover. Though if there is anything I can say about the video, it's the tone. I don't know if it's just me, but boy, do I sound a bit pretentious and above Elephant throughout it all. The video is a bit sloppy editing-wise at the same time, but I only think the real issue is with audio. As you probably noticed with my 6th commentary, I changed microphones, and this time it sounds far worse somehow. Moving on. Commentary number 8 is a bad taste I'd love to get out of my mouth, to be honest. Nintendo Life made this video about Sonic Force's E3 showing in 2017, months removed from its release later that year. Nintendo Life was critical of what they'd seen so far, and so I came in and covered that. I can't really put my finger on many of my issues with the video, but the most obvious was the fact that I'm quick to brush off Nintendo Life's problems, and that's embarrassing in hindsight because all of their major problems, such as the game feeling very on rails, were things the game would later go on to become infamous for when it released later that year. I do understand we were far removed from its release date, so I just assumed that's how the demo was supposed to be. but still. Finally, there is commentary number 9, which actually isn't the worst thing out there, but still a bit shaky. My biggest issue is just the fact at the end I have this big fucking yelling for no reason, other than to have myself go Super Saiyan, and I think it's really pointless. The only plus I can think of with this video is that it takes place in a Walmart, which is a funny meme, I guess. Whatever. With that being said, I guess that means we're on to the next video then. And that is... Alright, a long time ago, there was this YouTube troll named Gyrohedgy, and in 2016 they were commentated on by SonicTheDarkEX, at that point in time known as Pikachu Gamer 64. They were then commentated on by Doodletones later on. In August 2017, SonicTheDarkEX returned and commentated on Doodle's video. Doodle later did a commentary on that video, and then SonicTheDarkEX did a commentary on that video. And then I did a commentary on that video. And unrelated, but if I recall correctly, I think this started that large-ass Dark Void chain that for whatever reason seemed to go on forever back in 2017 and 18. So I guess I'll be the first edition in 2 or so years. Hooray, I guess? Yeah, whatever, let's begin.
You know, I never got to ask, what should we wish for?
You're not the one making the wish, I am!
Oh, really? Hello, viewers. We've already collected the 5th star ball not too long ago, but we found some material next to it, and let's be honest, it isn't good enough to have an intro skit. Just roll the damn intro.
I mean, by all technicality past me, this is an intro skit. It's an introduction, and it's a skit. It's an intro skit. This doesn't really harm the video, I just find that weird. In hindsight, you probably should have said that you won't bother spending time to actually build up a big intro skit or anything. I don't know.
So meet SonicTheDarkEX, also known as Pikachu Gamer 64, and you know what, for the sake of convenience, we're calling him Pikachu. He was a commentator from last year that did a video on a troll, and that video happened to have gotten backlash, but honestly I wasn't around at the time, so I don't know too many of the details. Recently though, he's returned to the CC under a new username and started with 2 videos, a video on Gyrohedgy and another one on Doodletones. Doodletones quickly responded with a commentary on that, and Pikachu responded with, well, another commentary. Yeah, he's that kind of commentator.
First off, this isn't a point, but geez, I really hate the way you say he's that kind of commentator. Like, it really just pisses me off. Never use those combination of words again. Second off, so Pikachu is that kind of commentator because he responded to Doodle, or responded at all? Like, can people not respond to videos without being seen as some fucking trashy fucking commentator? Like, people can have their reasons for wanting to respond to a video on them. You're raising some pretty big red flags past me, you fucking communists. And by the way, what absolute nonsense is that context? Because it is extremely half-assed. First off, just telling us he made a video on a troll is not going to give viewers any at all understanding of the video's context when there is more to the video than just DarkEX hitting a troll and then getting backlash. What happened was he did a commentary on a troll named Gyrohedgy, as I already stated within the video context, was hit by Doodle, which was hit by DarkEX, which was hit by Doodle again, which was hit by DarkEX. The end. Was that so hard past me?
Kurapika is now drowning in an indescribable emptiness.
Okay, so I made a commentary on Doodletones a couple days ago, and then she made a commentary on me a couple days ago also. Alright, so I haven't posted a video in a couple days because it's been really hard to find some commentary material stuff, or something for me to do a video on, but now I'm back with a new video. I'm doing a commentary on Doodletones, someone you may know in the past.
I see you haven't learned your lesson about scripts, or at the very least don't understand the idea behind retakes.
Kinda actually do understand scripts, but I just don't want to use them. I just think in my mind what I'm gonna say. But I'm not the only one to do this, you know. Oh and yeah, I do retakes.
Alright, he just screwed himself in 3 different ways in less than a minute. Good job, Pikachu, you haven't improved a bit, I see. Muffled audio? Check. Pointless dialogue? Check. Referencing other commentators and claiming they do the same thing, forcing me to bother and question who the fuck these people are? Check, check, check.
Look, I get the other 2 points, but pointless dialogue? I don't really agree with that. I mean, to start off with, to give you a rundown of how the video began, DarkEX began his video telling his viewers the context, and while yes, that context was bare bones, it wasn't pointless. Then, when it goes to a second video, he talks about where he's been, which, while it doesn't necessarily add to discussion surrounding the video he's covering, it at least gives an explanation to the very few fans he had and all the people who are familiar with his content. Then, when he goes to argue Doodle, he tells her that he doesn't feel like doing scripts, and then he tells her that she does retakes. All of these are explanations and arguments. Sure, the last one is an excuse, but I wouldn't say it's pointless.
Actually, it kinda does download video. It's just that my phone doesn't really have enough storage sometimes from all my editing tools.
Then why don't you try deleting a few of your files to give yourself more space? It'd make things much easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but what if he wants to keep those files? Or better yet, what if he needs those files, huh? Ever think about that? Maybe those are important files, and even if they aren't, maybe sacrificing your files isn't something he wants to do for the sake of a dumb fucking commentary. Maybe the easy way isn't always the best way past me.
And also,
Even though I'm glad you gave us some elaboration, other than the fact that it kicked you really hard in the shin, it did barely anything for this point because it was so short. If you're explaining something like this, then do it in a subtitle or at least in the comment section of the video or whatever.
If this is all you're gonna say, put it in the comment section and call it a day.
Jeez, I know the CanCom influenced a lot of my summer 2017 videos, but fucking hell, August 2017 Lunatic, you didn't have to go the full mile. Listen to Mommy Mavi and don't listen to Father Crimson Paladin. Or actually just disown him and delete his channel more than once, just to really stick it to him. Okay, anyways, seriously, what fucking logic does this bullshit work off of? The problem with the point is that it's an excuse that doesn't change Doodle's complaint. The fact that it's short doesn't even negate it. And in fact, based on your logic, is every short interjection a no good? Because if that's so, that's a fucking yikes for me, Chief.
Kurapika is now drowning in an indescribable emptiness.
Right, so this guy's a Sonic recolor. Can't believe those things are still around. I thought the majority of Sonic recolors died in some sort of bubonic plague and was replaced with My Little Pony recolors that were eventually taken over by Steven Universe recolors.
Sonic recolors are still around, as well as My Little Pony recolors and Steven Universe recolors. Those are still around.
It was a joke. There wasn't any actual point there. It was purposely pointless tangent about recolors dying in a nuclear apocalypse, i.e. not meant to be taken as a legit point.
I had no idea that was a joke. I didn't understand what bubonic plague means.
Still doesn't excuse the fact that it's on display in your video. Your point doesn't fix anything. However, this is all overshadowed by one line. He didn't know what the fuck the plague was.
Okay. Honestly, I fucking hate this part. Because this really just boils down to a haha, I'm smarter than you GG pot shot. And not gonna lie, that honestly pisses me the fuck off. Look. Who the fuck cares if this kid does not know about the bubonic plague? Is that even a relevant world event? Like, in the context of 2017. Does anybody fucking care? That's not, I mean, sure, something like World War I or World War II. Yeah, I can see that being relevant, but I don't know about the bubonic plague. Like, that's only relevant to, like, the medieval ages. And that's not even something you learn in school as early as 8th grade. I mean, not at least everywhere. You didn't for sure. You just happened to find it in a random book you found when you were 9. So I don't see what's so funny about him not knowing about it. Really, this just pisses me off.
Happy Vietnam flashbacks for all.
Will you people please stop making fun of the Vietnam War? And you find it funny that people lost their lives in that war? What's wrong with you?
Okay, fine. I was in the wrong, you're right. I clearly should have said Happy World War II flashbacks for all. Would have been much more tasty.
I have a friend who is sensitive to those jokes. Oh my god.
While dark comedy may not be the best thing in the world, the fact that you go to such lengths to tell us how much you hate it really annoys me. When she said happy Vietnam flashbacks to all, Duda over here is comparing the bad experience your video gave off and treating it as if it would give similar flashbacks.
Yeah, I think he knows that, younger me. His problem is that he doesn't like these jokes about wars, and while he doesn't say it outright, we can presume from how he acts about it he thinks these jokes are tasteless. You explaining why Doodle made the joke does not do anything about DarkEX hating these jokes. Plus, what's so annoying about him going to lengths to describe his distaste for these types of jokes? You do know how many people died and were subsequently traumatized by both of these conflicts, right? 1 to 4 million people died in Vietnam, and 80 million people died in World War II. I understand you personally have no gripes against gallows humor, but don't be so upset when you come across someone who does.
This is Gyro speaking.
Actually, theater guy, you can stop now. I've seen more than enough. But we have 39 more videos to watch. Well, lucky me, because it turns out the next 39 videos all have the exact same problem, so there's no need to continue anymore, because honestly, it's all just going to be the same from here. Thinking about it, I've been sitting on this forever, and after an hour of sitting through this nonsense, it's finally clicking to me now. I really hate my commentaries in general. Like, let's go back a bit. It's nice and all that I use my vast knowledge of Dragon Ball to cover Dragon Ball related videos and all, but honestly, they all suck because my clear bias and distaste for Dragon Ball fans, well, while I can't exactly blame my 14, 15-year-old self for having, I think it's so rude, especially when most of these videos are just random discussion videos. I have not watched commentary number 12 since it came out, and I refuse to even look at its thumbnail. It's so annoying how enraged I sound in that video because the guy I covered happened to just get a few facts wrong. Commentary number 20 is literally just me smearing my Sakuga knowledge that totally wasn't just shit I heard off the Dragon Ball Sakuga server in a video about a guy who just thought an episode looked a bit mediocre here and there. And with those videos came my above attitude. It's ironic because when I came into commentaries, I came in with the goal to approach differently from the ones I'd seen, which was like the suck commentary on me and all videos on that, where they seemed kind of mean-spirited. And yet I still, for some dumb reason, fell into many of the same trappings as those videos. I guess it got all washed up with my other goal, which was to become a respected commentator, and for that to work, I simply blindly followed many better commentators and closely monitored and copied how they did videos. It makes so many of my videos hard to watch because even when I started making decent and eventually good and eventually pretty good points in my videos, I still seem to have this just conceited attitude. Sure, I dropped it eventually, but it still came back every now and then, which if you ask me is longer than it needed to be, especially knowing the amount of problems they'd caused me and other people on the way forward. Don't forget what happened to my targets after I made my 30th and 33rd commentaries. That drama just speaks for itself. On top of all this, as I already mentioned, I basically just looked at other commentators and tried doing what they did, and it ultimately led to me saying stupid stuff that I didn't fully understand because other people who looked cooler said it. And God, overall, looking at these first 10, it makes me look over at my other 39 to try in retrospect and see how far I've come from these, but in hindsight, I've done very little aside from learning how to keyframe better than I could before, and even then, my editing is so piss poor and inconsistent. I'm just not happy with how any of my videos have turned out in any regard. And like, since Miss Clairval was so determined to see me face myself for no good reason, fine, you wanna know why I can't do commentaries anymore? It's because of shit like this. Hey, so do you still want to continue watching or what? What do you think, dumb shit? I'm done here. I refuse to sit through any more of this bullshit. But if you don't, how are you gonna face yourself? How am I gonna face myself? How is this going to help me? I'm just watching some of my old fucking videos, and all it's proving to me is that commentaries are just a frustrating mess for someone like me. The point I'm trying to say is I hate my commentaries, and I have no joy looking back at them. I'd prefer if they were thrown away into some sort of internet dustbin, and away from everyone where their existence which wouldn't have to be acknowledged at all, and I could just walk away from them, and pretend that I had nothing to do with them.
Well, I'm not usually one to overstep my boundaries as theater runner, but Lunatic, I've got a good question for you.
Huh?
Do you honestly believe any of the nonsense that's coming out of your mouth?
What?
Now, I fully understand that hatred of your videos, I really do, but do you really believe you're being rational with yourself? Or are you using this as an excuse to justify beating yourself up for stuff you know you shouldn't?
I'm not beating myself up, I'm calling on my bullshit. I'm acknowledging my flaws and letting myself have it for having them in the first place.
Fine, if you're acknowledging your flaws, then why not acknowledge this? You lost the condescending attitude, you improved from your piss-poor editing style of old, you came to understand many of the points you just threw out because you thought they were cool. You stopped trying to kill Dragon Ball fans because you thought you were smarter than them, and all of the other flaws you still have today, you at least have the ability to understand and recognize them. If you improve from all these little things you hated about yourself, who says you can't move past the ones you still have left? I understand that running away from your flaws is the easy thing to do, but is it really the best choice?
Well,
Sure, you can erase your mistakes all you want, but if you never even consider improving from them, you might as well be wearing those mistakes for the world to see.
Well, I guess you've got a point there. But look, theater guy, if I wanted to remove my existence from CC history, I would have done it a hell of a long time ago.
Okay then, what do you want? I mean, out of commentaries. If you simply wanted to quit commentaries, you would have done it on the spot, wouldn't you? Oh, I see. Two things. First is that you don't feel like you're done yet. Oh, who's a little perfectionist?
If you don't shut up, I will start beating you with my light novel collection, ISTG.
But in all seriousness, I see. Even at your best, you don't feel like it's enough. Quitting wouldn't really result in you feeling any better, would it?
Yeah, you're right.
And then there's your bonds. As much as I bet some people disagree with your choice in friends, you treasure those friendships that you formed through commentaries. They're the closest bonds you formed, period. You're afraid cutting that off will leave you as you were before you did them, empty and alone.
Oh, be quiet. You don't need to make it sound so dramatic.
These two reasons alone are your reasons for wanting to continue, because through commentaries, you have the ability to not only understand others, but yourself as well.
You say this like you're reading a detective book or some crap. What's your point?
They're all the disgust in your voice. I can definitely tell you're agreeing with me, Luna. Anyways, back to what I was saying. You're afraid people are gonna lambast you. You're also afraid people are gonna call you toxic. Well, Lunatic, straight up, I don't think you're a toxic person. You're still a good kid at heart. You do commentaries for yourself, but you still try to think of others as you do them.
Jesus, you say this like you're me or something.
Well, about that.
Oh my god. No way.
Well, I guess I let that knuckle out of the bag. I'm your shadow self. Like, the truth you don't want to admit. Ever played Persona 4? Or go through Futaba's Palace in Persona 5? Yep, I'm that. So, this is what Teach meant by facing myself. So I guess that's why you think you're so qualified to talk like you know me. If that's the case, what do I do now? Well, that's up for you to decide, but I guess I should ask. Do you plan to continue commentaries, or just drop them? Well, you know what? I might as well keep doing them. You're right. I don't really think I'm done here yet. And after everything you've said, I think I've realized something. I'm so concerned with what people will think about me, and while that is good in the context of critique and learning from my mistakes, I get so worked up on hypotheticals and creating a facade that I'm somebody I'm not for people who probably don't even really care about how I really feel. Sure, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, no less hurt them, but I also shouldn't compromise myself for something that isn't even real. I want to change how I do commentaries. I want to change a lot of the notions I see about them. I want to challenge their flaws and the flaws that come with the community surrounding it. I think it's about time I start doing... what the hell? Oh, I get it. All these years you use your avatars as masks of sort. But now that you've accepted yourself, you've reverted to your true form. That's kind of neat. What? I'm confused. It's nothing. Wait, now I'm back to this form. I guess some of these masks have become a part of who you are ultimately, so I can't see you discarding them anytime soon. We're getting off topic, though. I guess you've made your decision, then? Yeah, I'm gonna continue moving forward. Well, I guess I can proceed, then. Yeah? I am thou. Thou art I. Thou hast established thine future, and come to recognize thyself. Thou life will take a new turn from here, and thou shalt be prepared to face the future with full confidence. Thy power of thy hermit persona hath transformed into the power of the fool. A TLDR is I'm done here. Make sure you take care of yourself, me. See ya! So I guess that solves the mystery of the day. So I guess the only thing left to do is get back to the real world. Easier said than done, though. Whatever. I should also try thinking up what I'm gonna do about my commentaries after this. I think it's about time I restart everything. But I'm really not sure what I'll be doing, though. Whatever. I'm out of here.
This is where we saw it through.